room with David Varnado, which I just learned today is Varnado, not
Varnado.
It's okay. It's all the same. I answer to it.
Hey,
I've had it Varnado,
You have
Varnado.
to say it with a Cajun accent, though, right? How
Yeah.
would you say it? Varnado?
Varnado.
Okay.
You think Thibodeau, Como,
Thibodeau, Varnado,
stuff
okay.
like that.
fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, David, we're just your biggest fans here at North Fork.
Some of, yes.
I mean, we've had the luxury of having you here a few times to.
And his 300-year-old fiddle.
Yeah, we'll be very careful not to do
Yeah, that's
anything
a prop.
extreme around the table today.
Yeah, the real one's sitting in a vault.
Oh, that's the problem. Okay, good. Good, because I'm over going, oh, I don't want to break that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I said, we're huge Varnado fans here at North Fork Studios. We're happy to have you here and hear a little bit more of your story, hear about what's going on musically in your life. And
First and foremost, can I just interrupt you?
Yeah,
Let's tell everybody who's here and who's interviewing me and their full name, the whole bit.
Well, I'm Monty McWilliams.
I'm Cole
And I
Hoffbauer.
just hit a mic.
That's all right. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
I hate
Mike's
that.
and that's a nice segue into me. I'm Cole Hoffbauer, chief engineer of placing cables and mic stands in Monty McWilliams, the studio owner's way. So that is bound to happen multiple times. But yeah, North Fork Studios is an amazing music studio right here in Monty McWilliams's backyard property. I joked last time that you
30
traveled all
acres
of
serenity.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
If you hear the banjos playing in the
But
distance,
don't be afraid.
You're at the right
That's
spot.
just the band.
Yeah. So Monty, you kick us off with
Our first
your
question.
first question here for
It's
David.
an easy one. David, do you have any siblings?
I do. I have two older brothers.
Two older brothers.
Yep.
What's the age difference? Any
Well,
age
7 years on my oldest brother and 2 years on my middle brother.
Interesting.
Yep. I've got one half sister.
Okay.
And she's deceased. She died a couple of years ago.
Oh, damn.
But other than that, man, that's all I know as of right now.
You find out some long
Do
lost.
you have any kids? Not that I know of. Yeah, I've answered that a few
I plan
times.
on winning the lottery next week. They're all going to come
They'll all
out.
come out then. So then the next question is, I know from studying you that you started playing at an early age and your dad had a big influence on you about that, correct?
Yes.
All right. So I would define you as a child prodigy.
Probably so. My dad had bands. Right when he got out of the Navy, he started. My dad was a fiddle player and played a little bit of guitar, but yeah, he started forming bands right after he got out of the Navy, and around the Beaumont, Port Arthur area,
Right.
and had them for bands and 2 or 3 different bands, and put bands together for years and years.
Playing what kind of music?
Western swing and Cajun music.
Western swing, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, big time.
Bob Wills.
Oh,
big,
most
big
definitely.
Bob Wills fan. So,
Yeah, more so Cajun music, but a lot of Bob Wills.
Right.
And he got out of it in 70 and started looking into ironworking and being a union welder.
Yeah.
And
Was he a 195 hand, pipe fitter? Or
a local 125.
125?
Yeah, ironworkers local.
My granddad was 195 hen for 45 years. So
Okay, yeah.
This is a strong union area, or was. Not
Oh yeah,
anymore.
back when that was all the unions was strong, and by this time when he got a hold of getting out of the business, I was born in '69, so I was about 5 years old, and we had just moved to this new house that they had just bought in Port Arthur here in Port Arthur, Texas,
Right.
and I asked him. He was sitting on the side of his bed, and I went to my mom and dad's bedroom, heard this fiddle being played, and I'm like, I don't know what actually drew me to this thing or drawed me to it, if there's such of a word. But I just I was sat there next to him and asked him to play me a song, and my first song was "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star."
There you go.
Yeah.
Why not?
And the next song was the Cajun national anthem, "Jolie Blonde."
So they blown.
And the rest is history. He started showing me how to play, and I was so into this thing. I was eat, breathe, sleep, everything.
That's the prodigy part. Not
This
everybody's that way.
instrument. I don't know why.
Focus. Some people can. It's just a focus. We've had this discussion about other parts. About
can't
being
even
able
explain
to
it.
focus. I know. I understand.
I'd come in from school and homework. Who wants to do homework?
No way, dude.
Sit down and play.
So I'd come in and start picking this instrument. I mean, I had to do my homework, get all that out of the way. But by get home at 3:30. By 5:30, man, I had that instrument in my hand.
Yeah. So you got your 10,000 hours in pretty early.
Pretty early, yeah.
Yeah.
So around when did you start going from hobby to like, doing it, what turned into
Playing
be
out
professionally? Yeah.
There's a guy, I'll tell you how that happened. My dad was taking me to some practices when I was 11 years old over at a guy's house in Port Arthur, a local musician. He's done well. His name was Roland Boudreaux.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know Roland?
I don't know him, but I know the name.
He's very good. He's still alive today. He still plays. And my dad was bringing me over to his house, and a bass player at that time named Buddy Oliver was playing in that group. But Roland, God love him, all he wanted to do was practice.
Right.
So after about 7 months of just in the garage, Buddy asked me, he said, man, we got to get out of this garage and try to get somewhere where we can make a nickel.
Yeah.
Right. He said, I'm going to look. About 3 weeks later, he came and got me. He said, man, O.J. Gasper's got a band over at the Boudin Hut on in Port Arthur on Gulfway in Maine.
Yep.
And he said, man, you want to go? He said, I don't know. I said, you'd have to talk to my parents, make sure I can go do something like that.
Yep. Who here has not played the Boudin Hut?
I haven't.
You haven't?
You need to. It still
sounds like a rite of passage.
It's a rite of passage.
You need to.
Yeah.
You need to go check it out. It's really cool. But that was about, I would say, 81, somewhere around in there.
Yep.
82. And my mom gave the okay, but my dad went with me. I could not go to this. My mom and dad were very strict on me. And went and played this place. I was playing there 4 nights a week.
Well, it is a bar.
It's a club. It's a bar. It's a beer joint.
Yeah. And
It is a beer joint.
Yes. A beer joint is the right term.
How old were you?
12.
Okay.
Yeah.
12 years old. And
Shout out to Fish.
absolutely just an experience of schooling. I think that I didn't know I was getting, but I know now that I needed.
Polish.
And I was playing there 4 nights a week. Imagine going to grade school and then being up till 1 o'clock in the morning playing this place.
Having to get back up.
And having to get up and go all this other stuff. And what's really funny about that is my brother, my oldest brother, who's 7 years difference from me, he had a curfew to be in at 11.
Yeah, I'm sure you got a few beatings on that one, right? It might have been me or just small things, but I'm sure I'm the oldest of my 3 brothers.
So by all means, I'll tell you, I'm the baby, but I was not pampered. I was not the favorite.
Yeah.
But, man, I can't tell you the times that my oldest brother would come out and say, he gets to stay out and play till 1 o'clock in the morning, and I got to be home at 11. So that's kind of funny, but that's the schooling I felt that I really, really needed, and it worked.
You got your 10,000 hours in front of you.
It did, yes, sir.
Yeah.
It worked. I've had a couple of people say, what kind of parents would let their kid go to a bar? But my mom and dad knew how bad I wanted it.
I know who you are, and you came out okay.
Yeah, they knew how bad I wanted it. My mom didn't go, but my dad was there with me.
Yeah.
And he was faithfully there with me. And you get done at midnight, 12:30, 1 o'clock. My dad had to be up and ready to go to work at 5:30 that morning.
Yeah, he was making the sacrifice along with you.
And then it kind of got where they got to know everybody in the band good. They got to know Buddy Oliver good. And they trusted him to come pick me up.
And take care of you.
Take me there.
Yeah.
I couldn't go nowhere near the bar. None.
Yeah.
Had to stay away from it. And if I wanted a Coke, somebody had to get it for me. But I'm glad and I'm proud of that.
So it's understandable for your dad, who was a musician himself, to be along the ride for that and to see how that was all going to play out. Was your mom a musician, or was that she just got it because her husband was a musician?
She supported it.
Yeah.
I sat back and have sat back and looked and thought about all this, and the question really and truly is, how come and why they let me do that? I really don't know. I think they knew how bad I wanted it.
Yeah,
that's the child prodigy thing. When you're next to that, Val, Val. I mean, what are you going to do? He was playing hee-haw when he was 5, or 7, whatever how old he was. You know, your parents did the same thing. You're the same kind of guy, same kind of talent, and they let you develop.
My mom and dad, I don't think would have let me do that because my dad was really lenient with me, and as well as my 2 other brothers, but my mom
A little less so with your other brother.
my mom was really protective of who was around us, and her big thing is she didn't want me to fall into a drug pattern,
and that's
an alcohol pattern or being an alcoholic. And I'm not putting anybody down. Hey, it happens. And I'm not putting anybody on a download or a different shelf. I watched so many people's life fall apart because of that.
I have too.
And I didn't want any part of it. I wanted to make something of myself.
Yeah.
And you know, the Beaumont, the Golden Triangle, has so much talent here.
Well, we're doing this.
But let me say this to you in defense. The 60s, the 70s, all that stuff was going on with musicians all over the world.
Yes. And
that was the thing to do.
Yes.
You had Woodstock. You know, it was all that and free love.
I know, but me and you are 80s kids. I'm a 78 graduate. You're like 8 years.
I was born in 69.
69. I'm born in 60. So I got a little of the 70s, but you're an 80s dude. You was playing out starting when you were a kid in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And you're at what?
Yeah, I was about to say, y'all are going to have to educate me on that whole era. I'm
disco.
33 years old. Yeah.
We're not going to say anything else about it, just disco.
Yeah, fair enough. I can well imagine seeing some of my dad's clothes from when he was still a bachelor at 38. It's like, okay, that's what's going on. All
but
right.
I'm glad I got to do that.
Yeah. The live playing is
great experience.
Yeah.
So take me through the rest of your track there. You're 12 years old playing at the Boudin Hut and starting to get some traction, figuring out what it's like to play live. You have what turns into be a very storied career. What's the gap in between that and like landing your first, like, damn, this is working?
Well, you know, at 12 years old in a club, I had to learn how to school myself and listen to other people.
Fit in the band?
When to play and when not to play.
Yeah.
That I had no clue what even was in store with that. I just wanted to play my fiddle. But man, to your question here, I had to get the schooling before I could ever get to the next level. I had no clue what the next level was. But I had somebody, you know, you play your parts here, you play your lead here. You're going to have more time holding your fiddle, getting paid than what you're going to be playing, because the big thing is when not to play. And it set me up for the next level. And the next level was when I had to start really working hard, was when I got a call from Joel Saunier to go to Nashville. And I really thought that what I was doing in those clubs was the right thing. Wrong. When you go to Nashville, you're going to be making records. They want those things duplicated exactly the way it's played on those, back then, 8 tracks and cassettes, the way it was recorded. They don't want nothing different. They want you to back up and duplicate what that fiddle player's playing. Now, you talk about hard work.
Developed your ear?
Very much so.
Right.
Hard. Because I had to go in and play like Johnny Gimble.
Right.
I had to go and play like Mark O'Connor. And they didn't want nothing different.
Yeah.
That's hard because you're trying to be someone that you're not.
Yeah.
That you have to be.
Yeah.
Not saying it's wrong. And I was lucky enough to, like Joel and a few of the other artists, we'll get into that. But the live Nashville scene, touring and working on a stage, as long as you got the signature licks, you were okay. The rides, okay, they want to hear you.
Right.
The fills, they want to hear you. But those signature licks, if it's a signature kickoff, that audience has got to know what song that is that's being played.
First 3 seconds.
So you talk about hard work.
Yeah.
That was hard work.
Yeah, that's a masterclass right there, mimicking all the greats.
Yes.
And
And then spending 320 days on the road and living out of a suitcase and getting on a bus. And, you know, I don't care. These buses today, they're $1 million, $250,000 going down the road. You don't sleep good on those buses. And that's really hard to get to a next show and try to perform and put that painted smile on. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm somebody who says, "Oh man, poor you." Oh, yeah. Well, it's rough. It is rough.
Everything's a grind in life. It's going to be a grind somewhere or another in everybody's life.
So you talk about working hard.
Yeah.
I found out what hard work was when you got to Nashville.
Yeah.
And if you can't cut it, I got 15 more people behind you.
Right. Yeah.
That can take care of it.
Yeah.
And most of the time they all pretty well work with you, but if you don't have it, you don't have it.
Who is the first guy you played for up there?
First guy I worked with?
Yeah.
Joel Saunier.
And what were we all doing? What was the recording an album, touring?
Touring.
Playing
just
locally?
touring. Yeah. With Joel Saunier, we were doing, the first thing he put me on was a Ralph Emery show. I was 16 years old.
Ralph Emery.
You remember that
That's
show?
the name I had.
TNN.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, that was my first night to work with him. That's 50 million people watching this TV show.
Good night.
50 million people. I was a kid. I was scared to death, but I did it. I made it. And one thing about Joel Saunier, you're not going to be in his band without going through the Joel schooling. So it's
Tell us a little bit about that. Now,
Yeah.
you can't just tease with that and not tell us what that means.
particular as can be.
Yeah.
He is I remember getting to his house in Hermitage, Tennessee, right outside Nashville, and we had the Ralph Emery show to do. So on the bus traveling to his house, we practiced for at least 15 hours. Nonstop. I'm not kidding. Go to the bathroom, get something to eat, take a little break. We got to his house the day before the Ralph Emery show, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. 7 o'clock, we were back at it again. And I think around 1 o'clock or 1:30 in the morning, his wife, Bobby, came in and said, "Joel, y'all have this TV show. Y'all have to be on set at 10 a.m. in the morning. Let him go to sleep." But I'm talking, he had his Cajun accordion. This is back when he had a record deal on RCA Records. And we were touring with Alabama at the time, started touring with Alabama.
Wow.
But he would spoon feed me these parts of what he wanted played on the fiddle. And he had a little, a cassette player. And he would spoon feed me these parts. And this was all to be learned later for the show. But I'm going to tell you, when we got to that show at 10 and started recording at noon, I was worn out.
Dang.
And I didn't say anything to him, but man, I needed a B12 shot or something.
Yeah.
But Joel Saunier, he is responsible for laying the ground seed, helping me get my name around Nashville.
So who was the next artist that you were most? I mean, I know there was a couple of things in between there, but you went from Joel Saunier to who else?
The next person I went to work for was a guy by the name of Ty England. He was Garth Brooks' right-hand guy.
Okay.
They went to college together. They were roommates together in college. And Ty had worked all the early years with Garth. I don't know how long he was with him. Probably maybe 5 or 6 years. I would say 10 would probably be stretching it. But he was singing harmony with Ty, and he was playing acoustic guitar. And he was so popular that he went on to move on with RCA Records. Joe Galante signed him, and that was the next artist I got a chance to work with. And Garth helped him tremendously.
Cool.
He had a song out called "Should Have Asked Her Faster," and it went to number 2. It went to number 2 for the reason is when you got Garth Brooks calling Jay Leno and say, "Hey,
you need to play this."
Can you get these guys on the show?" And we played the Jay Leno show, and his song, phew, I don't know who was in front of us on the number 1, but still a number 2 hit, man. And back then, 30 years ago, even if you had a top, what they call a top 40 hit, that's enough to keep a bus rolling.
Yeah.
Dang.
You get a top 10 hit, you're set for another 15, 16, 17 years because you can ride off that hit for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be forgotten. But Ty England,
Do you have any other songs that made hits? Or
that's really the only one that really took off from I think the next song was "Smoke in Her Eyes." I think that went to top 40, and "Son of a Redneck Son," I think that went top 40. But here's the thing about that, and I'll tell you what happened. At that time, I know we got different things now, which is Spotify. What else do we have? That streaming, and
Apple Music and YouTube, honestly, I think is the largest
I
platform.
don't think so
for
much
music.
of where numbers are on a regular radio station anymore. I don't know how all that works. Y'all might know how that works.
I do not.
But I do know back then, top 40,
Yep. Billboard.
yes, all that
Still important.
would help.
Yep.
But Ty, he got wind because he had been with Garth Brooks. It actually kind of wasn't in his favor because we had 2 or 3 radio managers,
Right.
program managers. This guy's been with the best of the best, and I'd rather give it to somebody that would really that would really appreciate it more. And maybe this kid that nobody knows, they would give a chance. And it was really frustrating for Ty because they all felt, he's there, he made it, he was with the biggest crowds, with the biggest name in country music, which is Garth Brooks, and they just wouldn't give him a chance.
Man.
But that goes to tell you, I don't know what it is today because you got Spotify and whatever else. But let me tell you, back then radio ruled, man.
Yeah.
And if you didn't get played, you were only as good as your last hit.
Yep.
It's so funny how that has changed. I've run sound for a lot of folks, and it'll be everybody from low popularity artists who are struggling to even like they still have a full-time job or whatever, all the way up to Dean Dillon, all these other people who have like careers that are just totally ended.
Gary P. Nunn.
Yeah, Gary P. Nunn.
He just did sound for
Yeah,
Gary.
and Marty Haggard last night. But the range of those people is interesting. Talking to the older like singer-songwriter Nashville guys versus younger people, and how much that has changed. Where it's like the younger generation of artists, if they're not selling merch and playing a lot of dates a year, it's not going to work. And then the older guys are used to like a single hit song carrying them for 10 years or something like that. You've played through kind of the gamut of that, right? You've played with if we make charts or whatever, this
Merle
is like,
Haggard.
yeah, exactly. And then you're still out playing right now, so I'm curious of your your perspective on that, because nowadays I imagine most of your work for stuff like that is not happening in a studio how it used to.
No.
And that being like the main source of traction, it's playing, you played with John Conley the other day. Like, is that what you look forward to most as far as that kind of stuff goes?
Yeah, I do.
out?
Yeah, I have done the session work for so many years, and let me lead up to your question about that, about your, would I be rather playing with somebody live, you ask?
Well, one, what would you rather? But then two, just I imagine being a working musician, as far as I can tell, very much gone are the days of recording studio and making records as being a source of primary income for artists. They make it on the road. They make it through all these other things. So, as a hired gun type musician, what's that been like for you?
I'll say this to you today. And I'll lead up to where I feel like I need to be today. Today's country music, there's less fiddle on it, and it's been that way for nearly 20 years.
Yeah.
But it's gotten less and less and less. It's still a mainstream income for all of us in the studio, but I'm lucky that I'm able to play other instruments. I play 4 different other instruments. And if I wouldn't have that, I'd be in trouble.
Dang.
Because this stuff is what they call pop country, and it's not anywhere near country. And if they have a fiddle on it, I'm just doing little old string pad lines. There's no kickoffs no more. There's no rides no more. There's barely any fills at all. So for me today, I really would like to get on with somebody that's touring.
Yeah.
And keep me busy doing that, because I do like playing for an artist. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does.
one of the biggest thrills. I got to play with John Connolly the other night.
Yeah.
Inviter. I've known all these guys forever and ever and ever, and I like the guy's music. If I could get on with somebody right now working for a Zach Top.
Yeah, that's exactly the type of thing artist I thought of. Yeah,
he's. They're all saying he's bringing country music back. It seems like he is. I just hope and pray that whoever he's with, I don't know what label he's with. If he's on a label, I'm sure he is. They don't change him.
Yeah,
because it happens every time. You know, Leanne Womack came out. She was as country as could be, country, and the label changed her on the next album.
Yeah,
kind of popish. And she went off the deep end with the music, and it didn't do good.
Yeah, Zach Top is such a poignant example because clearly the market was just like so hungry for that sort of thing. Like he it blew up
quick.
Yeah, and that is so funny. You know, like I said, I'm 33, so I grew up with like, you know, whatever, late 90s, early 2000s country. Like, to me, George Strait and all, you know, Alan Jackson, all that kind of stuff. Like, I still, you know, the classic country, I'm sure to y'all, like real classic country was like the best country. And then I didn't realize until later, and I found out all these artists that I like that were, you know, 90s, 2000s country, what I know of as, they all were writing that because of the guys that you know, were, you know, like obsessed with. And yeah, that just fell off the map. I mean, like
big time.
It was like, what happened here, you know? So yeah, as a fiddle player, that's got to be insane. Where it's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have. You guys probably have a sample library of fiddle crap that you can put on here, this rap track or whatever it is.
It's not the same anymore. But it doesn't sound the same. But you know, Johnny Paycheck warned me about that. 2 years before his death, he was telling me, he said, "I'm gonna tell you something right now. You better start getting on your other instruments like you are, because I'm telling you, that instrument you're playing right there is going to be alienated like you wouldn't believe. It's going to be foreign here.
It has such a sound. You can't replace it. You know, you can get to where, okay, we're not listening to it right now, but it has a sound that's...
You know, I remember back because I paid so much attention to where fiddle was, and I, again, not realizing it, but Nashville would go into this kind of alternative, which would be like a T.G. Shepherd, stuff like that. And it would last for 7 years, and then traditional country would come back around again. This has been nearly 20 years, I've been counting it, that we're just now starting to hear a little bit of fiddle on stuff. Lainey Wilson, she's bringing it back, but I'm gonna get back on it again. Cody Johnson, he's got. I mean, I like the guy. I like everything about his music. Yeah, he's got good country. He's got steel guitar. Yeah, I agree. And he's got fiddle. Yeah, and good songs. Great songs. Yeah, great. Yeah, and he's recut some old songs that bring back that people want to hear. Right. You know, talking about the Nashville music and what's going on in Nashville, the pop stuff, I don't think it needs to be toe tagged as country music, because it's not. Yeah. I'm not putting it down. I'm not saying it's bad music, but I think there's room for both of us. Why are we being pushed out the door with all this? And I'll tell you why. These big money guys from New York, California, are coming to Nashville. They're buying these labels. They're taking these independent labels coming in, and these producers, they're young and they don't care about country music. And I got it. I totally get it. Money talks. And these younger cats that are wanting to be played on the radio and they're getting these record deals, here's the thing. I got it. I know what's going on. They're hungry. And if you don't play the labels game, if you don't play the producers game, if you don't play the radio game, if you don't play the Spotify game, you're not going to get played. I got it. They want it bad enough.
100,000 songs a day, I think, is what Spotify starts every day. You know, it's just, right now it's saturated. It's noise. And, you know, we don't hear anything but the noise. And so the labels have got to sort through that too, and they don't really have A&R departments anymore.
Not much.
And that's what the A&R guy is supposed to do, is sort through it. And it just, we have somebody. It kind of relates to somebody asked me, well, what's your listening? And I said, well, my playlist starts at Mozart and goes to Metallica. So I can't really call me your country fan.
That's okay.
But
though.
I listen to country.
Yeah,
Bob
that's
Wills is
okay.
one of my best. I mean, I love Bob Wills.
I like all types of music. That's good.
So I think that's part of it. I think as the information highway gets wider and deeper, that's the problem. The deep part is hard to reach, but it's deeper. It's just wider.
Yeah.
bigger.
Yeah. And, at the risk of landing too pessimistic on this continuum there, there's a lot of artists you would have no idea who they are, but for Instagram breakthrough and
Muscadine
that sort of thing.
Bloodline, him from right around here.
Yeah.
And they just now got platinum records. So
Yeah.
I'm like happy for them.
I feel like the way that lands for me though is the thing that's always frustrated me, and I'm not even a professional musician trying to make a career out of being an artist. But the thing that frustrates me the most about that is how jacked up the commerce of that whole thing
Oh, definitely.
is. So like, I'm not even, coming to any conclusion other than just that sucks that's the case. Do you like, I'm curious, for somebody who has been in the music industry so long, do you have any optimism about any of that whole system changing? How do you think about that as somebody who still makes income from being a professional musician? Or is this just this like,
You want me to tell you my views about it?
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah.
There's no other way I can put it.
that's a good
Because
word for
it
it.
has me on a fence line of going, man, am I going to make it? Am I not going to make it? Do I have another year at this? Do I have 6 months at this? Is the instrument that I'm playing, my God-given instrument, is it going to be used next year? Is it going to be used next week? Are they going to tell me they don't need me anymore?
Dang.
Who knows? It's my answer to your question is I'm scared.
That's heavy duty. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
very
I'm
much.
scared. I'm
Very
scared.
much. Kind of one of the reasons why we're starting this.
But
We have the ability. You're a session player, and Nashville session player. They fly you up there to Nashville to play still now and then, right?
Yep.
And yet you could do everything here and
Right in
send
the
it
studio.
to them right here and have the same or better quality, the same quality.
And it needs
Sure.
to be done here.
Well, I get that, but I don't, and that's a great point. I like that. But my point is, why won't they do that? Because you're not telling them that they're not doing it. The proliferation of home studios is one of the things that's changed the game for musicians.
They're starting to do it.
Okay. Well, that's what we're just at the point where we're like, look, we're going to do this because we want to talk about this and other things. Talk to people like you. And good grief, the stories. I still haven't got to my Merle Haggard question. I want to ask you about Merle. I know you were close to him, so
Yeah.
that's something I want to talk for you to talk about.
Sure.
In fact, let's just switch to that because I don't want to get down about the music business right now.
Yeah. Sorry. I took
Let's
y'all
talk
there.
about
No,
Merle
no,
Haggard.
it just-
No,
I've-
it's not just us talking about. Everybody's talking about
Yeah.
it. It's a probably worldwide phenomenon. For sure, it's big in country.
Well, you don't have to live in Nashville anymore to record.
No,
I mean, they got guys in California that are bouncing stuff to Nashville, and I am so excited about this place, North Fork Studios. And, you got a Beaumont address, but it's in LaBelle, Texas, correct? Finette. Okay, Finette. This is a well-kept secret that needs to be out and about, and I'm going to make sure of it. Got so many friends all over the country, all over the United States and in Canada. I'm going to put this kind of like in a different perspective. They've got doctors now that are somewhere else that can control a machine to do surgery.
yeah,
It's happening now where people can be somewhere else and live stream with a producer in real time, and I can be here, people can be here, and record all over the country
Yeah.
it's possible
with no problem.
The thing is the room. This is, as a studio owner and semi-quarter engineer, try to be the room that you're in. And I just did the table. I'm sorry.
I was waiting on you to notice. Good job,
Sorry.
Monty.
The room that you're in has to be right.
It is right.
But if this one is, I've spent a lot of time and money on it.
And I want people to know I've recorded in here 3 or 4 times.
But I mean, rooms, period, rooms are where the sound starts. I mean, the equipment counts. But if the room's not right, you're going to have problems. You have to fight that.
Monty, what were some of the other questions that you wanted to ask him about?
We've turned a lot of them. I want to talk more about his personal time with especially Merle, because I know y'all were buddies and friends.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear some interesting stories about that.
Loretta Lynn.
And Loretta Lynn. That one, I read one about Loretta looking out at the crowd and tell you, as long as they're smiling, that was a great line. Tell that story.
Yeah, we were in like North Carolina, and talking about Loretta Lynn. She came out early to watch this open act, which she never, ever did. But Tim Cobb, I guess her assistant at the time, they came and sat down. I was sitting there watching an opening act, and there was probably 6,000-7,000 people in this place. And there was an opening in a curtain, and she sat down. She said, "Hey, baby, how you doing?" I said, "I'm doing all right, Miss Loretta." So we sit there. She goes, "Those guys are good." I said, "Yeah." That's what kind of brought me out there to listen to them. And she said, "Look at all those people out there." I said, "Yeah, they're here to watch you." She said, "If you never learn anything from me, you listen to what an old lady's going to tell you." I said, "What's that?" She said, "Look at all them people smiling out there. Can you see them? Look at them." I said, "Yeah, I see that." She said, "If you love them, they're going to love you back."
That's great.
That's a great line.
That's great.
And she said, "I've lived by that forever."
Yeah.
I've catered to my audience. And one thing that she did that she felt was necessary, we'd go 3 or 4 songs of a pattern. After that, they start calling songs out.
Yeah.
You talk about scary for a musician, because
What's the next song?
yeah, we don't know.
What's the first word?
And I had 2 or 3 fiddles with different tunings on it and all that, and then in the middle of these shows, talking about scary for a musician, for me anyway, she'd find out that, A440 wasn't great for her, and whatever's in the key, what key we in? We're in the key of G. Okay, bring it down a half a step. Now we're in G flat or C sharp.
Yeah.
And then she'll do 2 songs of that. Y'all bring it down another half, and then we're a whole step. Now we're in flats. So we're in B flat, and it's then.
Are you reading off charts, or are you reading?
No,
Or you just
you pretty much learn the show after a while.
Okay.
But you got to start really thinking on what's what when she started bringing these keys down. But I remember her telling me that as long as you love them, they're going to love you back. And she loved her fans, and they loved her.
Yeah.
So Loretta Lynn, who are some of the other like holy shit names of people that you played with? They were just like
Johnny Paycheck.
That's a holy shit name right there.
Yeah.
Go out and work for him. He was particular, and it was a different show. completely different off the cuff and crazy every day and every night.
He lived kind of hard.
He lived real hard.
Yeah.
And luckily I caught him, when the last 13 years of his life, he cleaned himself up. But the last, I would say, year or so, he was on oxygen. He died of emphysema.
Yeah.
But, and I will tell you this, working for Joel Saunier was great. But I will tell you this, you go to work for Johnny Paycheck, he had all the fiddle kickoffs.
Yeah.
He had all the steel guitar,
Yeah.
harmonies for me to play with the steel guitar. He got me noticed on the Grand Ole Opry, bar none.
Dang.
And I've got this machine that I invented, which is produces
Yeah.
twin fiddles, and I used it with him. And I remember we played the Grand Ole Opry, and as soon as we got done, Jimmy Capps, a house player, had been on the Opry for 40 plus years, came over and said, "What is this machine that you're using?" And I got a chance to show him. But
You're talking about the harmonizer,
yes,
right? Yeah.
but Johnny Paycheck got me noticed with the fiddle playing.
Because of the style of licks
Yes.
and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, traditional country music.
Yeah.
That's what he was about. And he had a jam up band.
Dang.
I can't think of anybody else that really and truly put me on the map as a fiddle player other than Johnny Paycheck.
Wow.
Because again, I was featured on almost every song.
Yeah.
And he liked the fiddle.
Yeah.
He liked steel guitar. He liked country music. And he's most famous for the old violin.
Right.
So I enjoyed working for John.
Who's after Johnny?
What's that?
Who's after? Who'd you play for after that?
After that, let me think a minute. I can't remember. It's been through, I would say, I can't remember.
When did you start working for Merle, or was that
Merle was, I got to know Merle working for Johnny Paycheck.
for Johnny? Okay.
Yeah. And some of the best people in the world. We did our first package tour, and I'm going to tell you something right now. You looked at Merle Haggard, there was no front. You got what you got.
Yeah.
And that was great people.
Dang.
I've heard that from multiple people.
Oh.
He was just,
He'd sit right here and talk to us with no problems.
Yeah.
Not one bit better than anybody. And he wanted to be a side guy. He moved to Nashville to be a Chet Atkins. That's what he wanted to do.
I mean,
The singing thing
I
kind
did
of just.
not know that.
Yeah, he enjoyed the musician part. He didn't care too much about the singing part. But what a songwriter.
Yeah, he was a hell of a songwriter.
Yeah.
And you know, his ex-wife Bonnie Owen, she had a lot to do with writing a lot of his songs. You know, I remember him telling me one day when they were married, they got into a hotel room, and he said, "I'm just got my clothes off and got through taking a shower, and I'm sitting in bed with my shorts on." And he said, asked Bonnie, said, "Would you go get me a hamburger?" And he, while she was gone, he started writing. I mean, he was that type of guy to start writing a song. So he said, I don't remember where they were, but it may have been in a hotel room. But he said, you know, it's funny. You fall out of love with somebody, and you fall back in love with somebody. You can still be married to somebody and maybe not love him as much as you did 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But he said he came up with the line. He goes, you know, I think today I feel like I'm gonna start loving you again. And
Hell
she
of a
said,
song.
what an idea for a song. And she had a lot to do with writing his hits.
I mean,
When they got divorced, I think she got like a third plus on all the songs,
wow.
and he didn't get as much as he should because she had the rights to the songs.
Dang.
Merle Haggard,
That's wild.
what a guy! I'm going to tell you who some of my favorite. I want to say this to you.
Okay.
Let me say this to you.
We're not going to bash anybody.
I really don't care about the Nashville recording stuff because sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. Sometimes you're just working on vocals. You don't really get to see who that person is. You go live with somebody on the road.
Mm.
You want to tell you, this is going to seem crazy. My favorite artist, I'm not putting anybody else on a lower shelf because I like traditional country music. Chris LeDoux was probably one of my favorite ones to work with.
Cowboy.
He had a rockin' rodeo show, but set the music aside, he cared about me and he cared about my family.
Dang.
And probably the most money that I was at least paid probably the most money I made per show. And I remember about 8 months into playing for Chris LeDoux, I left Loretta Lynn to go to work for him.
Wow.
Loretta Lynn closed down, kind of shut most of her show down and wanted to work 25 shows because she had a boyfriend, she needed a life.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stay. So I went on to work for Chris LeDoux, and again, he cared about me and cared about my family. And I remember 8 months into playing for him, I had $100 more on my check that shouldn't have been there. And he paid us once a month. And it's hard to stretch money.
Yeah. Paycheck to paycheck needs to be.
And not have your check every 2 weeks or every week. But he paid us once a month. And there's a couple things I want to say about Chris. I had $100 more on my check because he paid everybody himself. And he wanted to know where his money was going. You know, and we know a few artists out there that let other people handle their finances and they get in trouble.
Yeah.
And he wrote every check out. And I had $100 more.
Where's he from?
He was born in Mississippi, and he lived in Casey, Wyoming. That's where he lived.
Sorry for the sidetrack. But
yeah, that's okay. So I went to him. I always called him Boss Man. I said, Boss Man, I said, there's something wrong here. And he goes, yeah, what's up? I said, I got $100 more on my check. And he said, let me tell you something. You played, I think I played 2 or 3 different instruments with him. And I need to make it worth your while to be away from your family. Now, let me say this to you. I'm just going to tell it like it is. I don't know. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I'm just saying what I've seen. These artists that I've worked with, I'm thankful that I was there. I'm glad that I was there. But most of them don't even know. They're letting somebody else handle their finances. And you don't like where you're at, they don't care. I got 5 more guys behind you that'll take your spot. But Chris LeDoux, somebody to come out and tell me I need to make it worth your while to be away from your family.
Yeah.
And he said, no, that $100 extra is supposed to be there. And I never forgot that. And I remember this, him asking me one day, what are you paying in health insurance? Out of the blue. The 4 years, 5 years I was there, 5 years I was there. And I said, well, I'll look and see what we're paying a year. And it was $2,100 a year. Lo and behold, with a fruit basket and a check, besides my National Finals Rodeo check that I got paid.
Good grief, that was a big show. What
3
year?
shows.
3? Okay.
3 shows. I think it was the Stardust Casino, Silverton Casino, something like that. 3 nights there. And I get, this is around December, I get every year a basket and a $2,100 check paying for, what person would do that?
What year was that?
I'm telling you right now.
What years were that?
I've never seen it. I think Chris died I went with him in, I think, 2000, and he died in March 9th of 2005.
What was that?
2005. Yeah. But I'm just telling you right now, man. Let me say this to you. If we had 10 shows, let me think how this worked. So if we had 10 shows this month and 5 or 4 shows next month, he said, guys, it's up to y'all. We can do these 10 shows and more taxes be taken out, or I can move some shows of your pay from here, and you'll have a little bit less, but we can move it to next month and maybe put 3 shows in with the 4 shows, so there's not so much taxes taken out. Who would do that?
Yeah.
Somebody that cares about people.
Yeah.
Who would do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good people.
And my mother told me, when something happens to that man, there ain't going to be no more Chris LeDoux. And you know what? There hasn't been. And he died of bile duct cancer at 55 years old.
Yuck.
Where I'm at right now, 55 years old.
Gosh.
He was a good person.
You nailed it there, mentioning about how, there's a million other people, lined up, and that's, all the other, maybe it's easy for other artists to just think, okay, we'll get somebody else to come in or whatever, but, you're treated like family in that sense for him to be like, yeah, this is like, it's not just a fiddle player. This is.
Yeah. And I want to say this. If you got people, these artists, if you got people that are working and they're doing good for you and they're fun to be around and they take your music serious, for a second, forget the friendship. If they're taking care of you music-wise and being on the bus on time, you don't have to babysit them. Take care of your people. Show them that you appreciate them. Don't treat them like they're a nuisance. I'm just going to be down and dirty. Don't treat them like they're a problem child. And I want to say this to artists that need to know. There are people in people's camp that I've seen. These artists have themselves so segregated from their crew and their band members. And next thing you know, you got a stage manager, you got a monitor guy, you got a stage hand that works for you, maybe a teleprop that's somebody that's working in your group. Go around and make sure and ask, are my guys treating you good? Because you know what? You have some a-holes out there that these artists don't even know these people are representing them, and it's not good. They're pissing people off, and they've got no clue why they're not back to that venue anymore. Let me say this to you. If I go into and be an a-hole to people that because, well, I'm with the bigger hit, you're the opening act, you're nothing to me, stop it. Absolutely stop it. Because let me say this to you. No matter what, if I go into a hotel room and I trash a hotel room, you think they're going to say David Varnado trashed that room? They're going to say, man, you ought to see what Loretta Lynn did. You ought to see what Chris LeDoux did. Now, people, if you're just turning this on, Loretta Lynn never did that. And Chris LeDoux never did that. I'm giving it for instance. You're carrying that person's name.
Yeah.
And it ain't going to be the guy that's the a-hole.
Yeah.
It's going to be that artist.
Yeah.
Look what he or she did to me.
Yeah.
So treat your guys good. Know what's going on. Don't segregate yourself that you're that big of a star that you can't get out and about and question your guys and have a meeting once every other month. Is everybody? And let's get it out in the open. If I done you something, you need to have it cleared up.
Yeah.
So we can keep the air fresh. Am I right?
You're right.
Run your business as a business.
But run your people as people.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
props to the people who are doing that, because any position of leadership can be really testing of anybody's character and their ability to have a wide breadth or whatever. So the people that do have that,
life is a test of character.
right? Yeah. So the people who do operate like that, that's why it moves you so much. That Chris was like that.
Yeah.
It's just like, like the people, the capacity to have that is just like, damn, that does not come by often.
you can get, it's just an old saying, man, you can get more with sugar than you can salt.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's just the way it goes. That's life.
Mm-hmm.
Be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be nice.
Yeah. There you go.
And I'll tell you another thing. There's an old saying that an old lady told me years ago in the music business. Her name was Jean Shepherd. And she said, if you never learn anything from what an opera member has to tell you, I'm going to tell you this. Be you before someone else is you. Oh, really? What do you mean?
It's interesting.
What's going to happen is everything that you are and should be, you're going to see somebody in you and wish you were that guy.
Yeah.
I'm everything that guy was. Why didn't I do my thing?
Yep.
Don't fight the system.
Exactly what she's talking
Be you.
about.
Be you.
Yeah.
Cole, if you're that intricate about your job and what you do and what you think about yourself and you, don't let anybody ever talk you out of it.
Yeah, that's good
because
advice.
that's you.
Yeah.
You have to be you before someone else is you.
I've already actually experienced that to a degree where, you hear music or you hear an artist or something, you're like, damn, I meant that first. Like I have voice memo after voice memo of that thing.
The one thing that I can really tell somebody that is wanting to learn an instrument, and I've had people ask me this before, man, my kid plays drums, he plays bass, he plays lead guitar, he plays piano, and he's learning the fiddle. That's all fine and dandy. You're going to have to pick one and get it mastered. Otherwise, you're going to be a jack of all trades and not good at, that's a good way to put it, master of none. And you're just going to be a get-by musician. Learn the one instrument, get it critiqued, get it mastered, learn that craft, and then move on to the next instrument. There's some people that's lucky to be able to multitask like that and be great at all of them. It's few and far between, but learn your instrument. Take criticism from older people and someone else that knows something better than you do, and don't take it as an insult. Don't get mad. Listen to what they got to say.
Right. I have a question for you about theory, music theory. How important is that with the fiddle? How much of it did you have to teach yourself and learn?
Well, let me say this. Tabs.
Mm-hmm.
I learned tabs from an orchestra leader at Lamar, and I know how to read tabs, but there's a thing called the Nashville number system, and that has helped me with everything. They're still doing it today. Charlie McCoy, harmonica player, is the one that invented that or came up with that years and years and years back.
Did not know
The
that.
reason being because you being a musician, you know stuff on the guitar. Hey, let's get in the key of E. The one's going to be E. Okay, so we're going to go to an E, and then the intro is going to be E, D, G, and then we're going to go into a C. Okay, so what do you, well, hold on. Did you say E or D? And you said, was that G or was that D? All those things sound the same, but you got the number system.
Mm-hmm.
You know what is what.
4, yeah.
It's all on scales.
Yeah.
So learn the number system. But
And then also when Loretta Lynn is like, hey, can we take that down a half step?
you better figure it out.
Like,
And you know
okay,
what? You've got thousands or on television. You better figure it out right now.
Yeah.
You better get your schooling together. But I would say this. You talk about how much that is important. Learn your number system. Learn that, if you would. The tabs thing, I would really and truly, I don't think it's a bad thing, but for me, I'm not putting it down. I would hate to know that I have to have a sheet of paper in front of my face to be able to play live.
No,
I would hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me as a guitar player and as trying to write, it just turns into I need to know more than I know, and it's one of those questions. How much do you need to know to play fiddle? You know. So that's just kind of a question.
That's why I just play drums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let you nerds figure out all that
Well,
stuff.
you know,
And the one thing I think about playing
why you
live,
stay out in the back.
you got a band leader, and I know you want things to turn out right. Unless it's affecting you for what you're playing a part with somebody, don't worry about his parts because you're going to wind up getting yourself fired. Don't worry about what somebody else is doing. Unless it affects you and makes you sound bad, whether you're doing harmony parts or something's not right and you've got an integral part with that person, stop being a know-it-all because it'll get you fired. You got a band leader that takes care of that. Maybe go to him and talk to him about it. But don't worry about what someone's not doing that sounds bad. If that artist ain't noticing it and they're happy with that, or the band leader's not saying anything, keep the drama down, man.
Yeah.
That's just good life advice there.
And really and truly, we're talking road life. Nashville would rather take a lesser player that can get along with everybody on the bus than a great player that's an a-hole. Because you're a bad egg, man.
Yeah.
As a former employer, I know exactly what they're doing.
Because it'll sure feed the negativity off to anything.
Drama is no fun when you're trying to manage.
No. So there you go. That's the best advice I can give you. Learn your craft. Just worry about you. And if they want something learned, learn it as close to the record or if to the record as possible. What can they tell you? Nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the difference between a $300 fiddle and the one you can pick up at Twice Good?
A lot of difference.
Tonal play or just the tone?
Tone.
It's the wood.
The playing ability on it.
It
has to be set up.
Wood sitting up, but wood sitting and drying for 300 years.
That fiddle right there is year 1721, and that is not uncommon for fiddles to be that
No,
old.
I know. I've held a couple like that. It's just,
Yeah.
But I can tell the difference, and I know you can too, between one that was made in Japan last year and that.
Yeah.
And I know part of it's the wood, part of it's the artisan that made it. I mean, this is, look around, we got wood everywhere, and I'm a wood freak, as he knows, but that is wood at its finest.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All the pores are wide open on it.
Yeah.
And everything vibrates really well on it. It plays well. The bridge is cut for me. I love everything about it.
So, David, if I want to keep up with what you're doing, come watch you play with John Connolly or whoever you're playing with next, where can I find more info? Where can I follow you?
You can look for me on Facebook. I don't have an Instagram or TikTok or nothing like that.
There is a David Varnado on Instagram. It ain't you.
That's it. That's right. I'm on Facebook.
David Varnado on Facebook.
And I guess I'm old school, word of mouth.
Yeah.
If you need to get a hold of me, you can check me out on Facebook. Call Monty and he'll tell you where I'm. If I owe you money, please don't call.
Yeah. But if I want to hire you, if I want to come watch you play live, if I want to hire you to play fiddle on a song of mine,
Facebook's the right place to play.
I'll hire at you there. Okay,
I also
sweet.
belong to the Musicians Union in Nashville, Tennessee, and also in Austin, Texas as well. So if you'll call the Federation of Musicians, they can find me. They've got my number.
Wow, very nice.
And I'm on Facebook. It's V as in Victor, ARNAD as in dog, O, Varnado, David Varnado.
Right on, David.
Fiddlin' Dave.
Fiddlin' Dave.
Yeah, I could throw on my Spurger accent. We'd never be able to tell
All
what
right.
your name is. Mr. Varnado.
Yeah, well, too bad you're not violining Dave.
That's it.
Well, David, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank y'all.
Man. We appreciate it.
It's
And
been fun.
we look forward very much to part 2.
This is first class. Thank y'all for having me.